Check out the new Fuel Your Thirst game in the Racetrack app. Play to score offers on your favorite food, drinks, and more. Plus a chance to win Fuel or fountain drinks for a year. Earn a play every time you buy an eligible cooler drink using your Racetrack Rewards ID at checkout. Then head to the game to make your next move. It's as easy as sip and play for chances to win. Download the Racetrack app and visit your nearest store to fuel your thirst today. Racetrack, whatever gets you going. No purchase necessary. 13 plus in eligible markets. Minors need parental permission. Ends August 4th. Rules at racetrack.com/fuel-your-thirst.
Hello and welcome to What's the Score, the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination for your business or whatever your endeavor in life might happen to be. And, of course, we got the winning lineup for you today because the award-winning, I can call you that now because you're an official show host. I'm talking about Jason Jones. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I somehow survived last week without you, but I'm glad you're back, though. How are you doing?
You did a great job. All right, I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much. And, of course, Jason is a SCORE volunteer, and his expertise is in marketing. And it's marketing, isn't it?
Yep, marketing, branding.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, because we're going to talk about that a little bit today, as a matter of fact, right. I think, with our guest. I am Christopher Hart of the American Adversaries radio show, but, of course, this show is all about SCORE and everything that they've got going on. And they have something there for everyone, but, of course, it is focused primarily at entrepreneurs. And SCORE here in Orlando is focused on local entrepreneurs. But, of course, SCORE is a nationwide organization, so they help people out all across the country. And I know that it's just here locally, the number of businesses that have been helped to succeed with guidance from folks at SCORE is well into the thousands. I mean, it's SCORE because SCORE's been operating in Orlando for quite some time.
Yeah, quite some time. And as a whole organization, 60 years, right? So been around. Our name rings bells, and there's always positive things being said about us, through the clients that we mentor, through the organizations that we partner with. So it's just a good group of people I'm happy to be a part of. Everyone has their own expertise and their own ways that they're able to help out. And I think that just creates a lot of energy around everything we do, whether it's in-person events or the webinars or through our mentorship. People just are always, singing our praises because of what we provide to the community.
Yeah, and it's virtually everything is at no cost to you folks. If there is a charge, it is very minimal. And you can find out more about things going on at SCORE on their website. That's probably the easiest way, although you have other ways as well. First of all, the website is score.org/Orlando, score.org Orlando. And, of course, you can go to the SCORE offices, which are physically located in the National Entrepreneur Center on the West End, just off of McGuire. And the office hours are 10 to 4, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 1 on Friday. And you're welcome to stop by and say hello and check out the whole place. I mean, the National Entrepreneur Center itself, there's 14 or 15 other great organizations dedicated to helping entrepreneurs succeed at SCORE, like SCORE, I should say, as well. And most of them have people there in the offices, don't they?
Yeah, most do. The SBDC is in there. They often have people. They normally take calls, though, if you're going to walk in. We always have someone, as you mentioned, from 10 to 4 if you want to walk in. But like you said, there's other organizations, the African American Chamber, the Veterans Organization, the Hispanic Chamber, Prospera. So I always tell people, just make a day of it, like do a field trip, come on down, speak to the ladies up front, Carmina and Monique. They'll be happy to walk you around and, give you some brochures and pamphlets and things like that. So like you said, it doesn't matter what stage you're in. If you've got that idea, that $1 million idea, you got to start somewhere, right? So, why not start getting some information? But if you're already running your business and you're like, all right, I'm stuck here, I need help in this specific area. Again, you can come on down, you can do a walk-in, or you can go to the website, score.org Orlando, and you can sign up for a mentor there. Or if you're still on the fence about, talking to someone, which you shouldn't be, you should go ahead and do it. But if you're still thinking about it, register for a workshop. We have, live workshops. We have recorded webinars. So you can really go down a rabbit hole watching, webinars just back to back to back and soaking up all that information. And that way you're more prepared for when you are going to step out there.
All right. And once again, right there in the National Entrepreneur Center, 10 to 4, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 1 on Friday. And if you'd like to call ahead and make an appointment maybe, or just have a question or two, some guidance, you can call them on the phone. Same office hours, 407-420-4844, 407-420-4844. As I said, it's same as office hours. And if you call after hours, just leave a message. They'll call you back the very next business day. And if you call and for some reason you don't get through, just leave a message and they will call you right back as soon as they are available to do that. All right. And once again, SCORE has many volunteers from all walks of the business world, literally. And Jason, as we said, his specialty, he came from the world of marketing and branding. And that brings us to our guest today, because she's a marketing and branding strategist, I think. But anyway, let's find out more from Nicole Hagedorn. Nicole, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Well, excellent. Thanks so much for being on the show. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, first, the way we like to do it is find out a little bit about you, more sort of on a personal side, and sort of the things that led, that led you into what you're doing these days, shall we say? Like, where are you from? What'd you go to? Did you go to college? What'd you study there? What'd you do after college? Give us a little bit of detail, if you would.
Sounds good. I will start out by saying that I am a true Gemini. I feel like I'm just a constant learner. Never really knew exactly what I wanted to be growing up. I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. I wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted to be a geneticist. But I grew up in DC, right outside of DC in the Maryland side, and moved down to Florida with my mom and my stepdad when I was 10. And I was going back and forth between DC and Florida to see my dad up there and stuff. So really kind of grew up down here. I did go to school, to college at Flagler. I went there to do a program that they had with FIT. So I wanted to be in fashion merchandising. I had internships at BCBG in LA. I had internship at Cosmopolitan in the design department. And I realized I really didn't like taking business classes, which is kind of interesting looking at this now. But so I changed my major to communications and graduated with a minor in advertising and graphic design. I realized really quickly that I'm not a graphic designer, but I love aesthetics. I love the visual sense of things. I love the emotion it evokes and really how it ties into really every part of your life. So I graduated, really had no idea what I was going to do, and I found a job at an advertising agency. So I started there as a production coordinator and a copywriter, and just really learned the ropes there. I call it my boot camp of my career because I basically did and touched everything. And within a year and a half, I was kind of helping to run the company. I was the director of creative development. So I was creative directing. I was working with our in-house clients. I was doing marketing strategy, really anything and everything. So it was really exciting, really exhausting. And I also just wanted to learn more about digital. Like LinkedIn was new, Facebook was new, and our clients really weren't getting into that yet. So I ended up moving to Orlando, got a job doing digital marketing for an online education company. And then within a few months, I actually got a job in a Fortune 500 company. I was with Wyndham Destinations, timeshare side, and I was with them for 11 years. So I started in the brand team, and that really was when kind of everything came together for me. It was like the aesthetic and the strategy and the customer experience, and really how a brand is very a person in that sense. It's every touch point, every experience, everything that and you see and hear about them. And so I really, really loved that role. I thrived in that role. And I got to help support our marketing teams out in the field as well as our corporate. and helped to be part of the team to create Margaritaville's first kind of resort side. It was before they did hotels. It was before they, were doing their 55 plus communities. We were working with them to develop, this opportunity to live that experience. They had, consumer products. They had their restaurants, but this was the first time someone really could live in that experience. So I was part of that team that helped to create that. And once that was launched, the product development team asked me to come and join them to help to continue to run that business line. So it was a really great experience to kind of learn more of that business side of things and understand more of the client side. So that was really awesome. And then I spent a couple of years while I was there in enterprise project management, really working through change management. So it was taking all this like project management experience I've had throughout my life and putting it again more into the business side of things. It was a big job and I learned a lot. And then after COVID, unfortunately, part of our team, we were laid off and kind of figuring out what's my next move. And that's really where I think I found my voice a bit more. I started working with mid-market companies. So, 3 or 4 different companies at different inflection points of where they were at. And it was just a really great experience. I got to be a part of developing brands, rebranding and launching that, and also building marketing systems and marketing teams, and just really found that was my sweet spot. So that's what I decided to develop as my own business, and that's what I'm doing now.
Do you think if it were not for COVID that you would still be, say, at an advertising agency? Because that sounded like a pretty, fun life.
It was. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I loved being a part of like a corporate atmosphere. I loved so many things about it. I loved the travel. I loved interacting with so many people and collaborating and learning different parts of the business. This is definitely like, I think the next chapter. And it's just, taking so many of these great experiences that I had. The cool thing is like working for a Fortune 500 and then now working with like mid-market. It's like I see the end game and now I can help these companies that are, they've already gotten past that startup phase and they've grown to this really great spot, but they need to get to that next level of growth. And like I know how to help them get there. And like that's pretty cool to me. Like sometimes I'm working with founders, sometimes I'm working with, second or third time CEOs, but it just feels like really impactful work that I'm doing. So that part really excites me.
All right. Well, good timing because we have to take a break at this point and we'll come back. We'll continue the conversation with Nicole Hagedorn. And you are listening to What's the Score? So stick around for more. Welcome back to What's the Score? Thanks so much for tuning in and telling your friends and family about the show. We really do appreciate that. All right, Jason Jones of Score and myself, Christopher Hart, are your hosts. Our guest today, Nicole Hagedorn, and she's a marketing and branding specialist. And can you give us like your website, social media, and that sort of stuff, please, Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely. So my company name is Davis and Harper. The website is davisandharper.com. So that's DAVISAND, Harper, HARPER.com. I do have a presence on LinkedIn, but my more active one is my personal one. So that's linkedin.com/in/Nicole A. Brand.
Nicole A. Brand.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Jason, I mean, as she was describing the world of marketing there, you bring back memories?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've taken a similar path. So I was over here smiling, knowing that, talking to a fellow creative here. But Nicole and I have actually known each other and, have worked through some sessions together. So I know a little bit about her background. But what I don't know about you, Nicole, is like, when did you realize that branding was more than just like logos? Because you said you were, sort of into being a designer at one point, but then you didn't, feel like that was for you. And then this whole world opened up, when you started working at Wyndham Destinations. Like, when did it click for you that like, oh, branding is this? And could you walk us through like, what is the difference between like, let's say, branding and marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it all clicked to me probably within a few months of being at Wyndham, it was like, yeah, I totally got the aesthetic side and the visual side. And then I've been doing a lot of strategy work leading up to my time at Wyndham, and being able to bring those two together, I think that's when it started clicking. And then, talking with the marketing leaders, the regional marketing leaders about their challenges and, hearing what their idea of what brand meant, and realizing that there was a lot of education that I needed to, share with them in order to help their businesses grow. It really was that customer experience piece too. Like, the marketers that they're seeing out in the field, when somebody's calling into our call center, when they're going into the resort, and, speaking with somebody at the front desk and checking in all the way through, like, what kind of activities, what are the linens like, what is the feeling of the resort suites that they're staying in. It's really so much more than just, oh, I need an ad or I need a flyer for this piece. So, developing those relationships over time and learning more about the timeshare space as well. I think there was a lot of education going both ways. And I don't know, I think the best way that I can explain it is I liken it, like I think I mentioned before, like I liken it to a person. Like, think about your best friend. Like, traditionally or typically they'll probably wear a very similar style every time you see them. Their hair is usually like parted a certain way, a certain color all the time. You guys like to do the same kinds of certain things that together, right? Like, they have a certain voice. Like, you start to know who they are, and if they show up another day and something's completely off visually or even with their personality, you clock it, right? It's like, wait, this
Right.
this isn't on brand. So once I was able to kind of explain it in a way that people could digest it, it started to click, and it really started to help that relationship build as well. And I think a lot of times too, people think either it's brand is either visual, or if you're in a corporate space, I think, oh, you're the police. You're here to say, like, take this down. You can't do it this way. Those colors aren't off. You can't make your own stuff. It's like, well, how can we collaborate and work together so that we meet your needs, and then I can turn that around quickly for you. And so, that felt like the right space at that time. So.
Mm-hmm. What does that process look like? Like, let's say you're taking someone through, your framework, or like, how do people get started working with you? And then what does that process look like?
Yeah, I think, well, starting, really starts with a conversation and me doing a lot of listening and asking a lot of questions, right? So I need to understand, like, what is the problem they're experiencing? Because it could be very similar across businesses, but there could be something very specific. And another reason I really like to listen is I want to make sure that what I'm helping to solve for is actually a brand issue. It's not, another marketing issue, or it's not something really more in operations or something like that. So it's really understanding where they're at, what problems they're seeing. And it might look like a lot of different symptoms. And that's what I find in the work that I do with these mid-market companies is it looks like a lot of different symptoms. And so they're not thinking, oh, I have a brand issue. They're thinking, oh, marketing, we're putting money into it, but we're not getting the ROI. Or it's looking like I need to change my marketing leaders or change my agency. But it also could look like, my leadership team, we're all kind of drifting apart. We're all working really hard and we're doing things, but we're not like rowing in the same direction. And that could be because they don't know what that guiding light is. They don't know what that North Star is. Maybe they think they do. Or you're cutting costs, or you're making some operational efficiencies, but in doing that, you're actually hurting your customer experience. So that's where I like to really understand where they're at and ask those hard questions, because what I found is that a lot of times the business strategy is not necessarily buttoned up, but as articulated and clear as maybe they think it is. And so, I help them get to that clarity. I help them get to that place where we have a North Star. And then from there, I start to build out that brand strategy or refine their brand strategy. And then from there, we go in and build out their visual identity. It's really a phased approach. And we need to make sure that there's agreement and alignment at every step before we get to the next one, so that we're really building something that's going to help push them in that right direction rather than just another marketing exercise.
Yeah, I think people look at it like, oh, what's the next marketing tactic that I can do? And they jump from tactic to tactic without really laying that foundation down. Like, who are we? What do we stand for? How do we show up in the marketplace? And instead, they jump over that foundational stuff and they just want to start, hey, let's run some ads and let's do this and let's do that. And it's not working. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And really it really filtrates into your entire business, right? I mean, like partnerships, who are we partnering with, not just from a marketing perspective, but like, okay, we want to, start offering credit cards, options and like, okay, well, which vendor really makes the most sense for not just our needs, but like, the user experience or, it's really every piece and part of the company. Like as we're hiring people, like, is there a culture here that's keeping people here and that are really like helping to sing the praises of the company? Like every little part and piece of that is a part of that brand. And some of that's tied to the leadership, of course, but a lot of it's tied to the business strategy as well.
Right. Chris?
All right. Excellent. Of course, you kind of got thrown into the fire, more or less, as you said, is the way it transpired. But it sounded like also, I think what happened during COVID is many organizations were beginning to outsource things that they might do in-house. Did that help you? Was that part of how you were able to get on your feet, business-wise, I mean?
Let's say long-term, yes. Short-term, no. Because to your point, some people were outsourcing, but some people were still either shooting in the dark, kind of what Jason alluded to, of like, let's put more marketing into it. So they're hiring roles, but they're misscoped. So I've actually been a misscoped hire over the last like 6 years, where, the first one was they needed a marketing generalist. And to be honest, I didn't really even want the job, but I was just like, well, let me go talk to them. I talked to the CEO a few times. I went into the interview and he wanted me to meet with the other C-level. And as I'm talking to them, it's like, well, they're all saying something different on who is their target market and their messaging strategy. And I'm like, guys, like we don't have a strategy here. We don't even have a brand foundation here for you guys to execute on. And so that's why you're not seeing ROI. And so they hired me on the spot and I helped them with that. And then I was like, hey, this is my natural kind of timing for me to like go out. You need a different kind of marketer to come in now. So after we rolled out the brand, I rolled off. And then like the last full-time role I had, it was the same thing. It was for a private equity backed company. And, they were really looking for high growth, and brand is a part of the long-term strategy. There's quite a lot of framework you have to put up there, especially for a new company that was being put together, so that you can build that funnel. And they weren't quite ready for that. That's not where their head was at. They really wanted to focus on that lower funnel. So it really kind of hurt me in the beginning, but I think, after taking some time after that last layoff, it was like, oh yeah, hey, this is something that really only needs 2 to 3 months worth of work for a company to really hit the ground running and not a full-time hire. So to answer your question, like it didn't really help me at the time, but like it made a lot more sense in the long run once I, got to this point of like, mid 2025.
Okay. And of course, you had to brand yourself along the way, right? Because once again, you went from working for someone else to being on your own. How did you go about doing that? And that kind of might help people understand how to brand themselves.
Well, I don't know if I'm the best example of that, to be honest, because, I really was kind of chasing that next full-time job. I was going through some personal things in my life and really wanted to have that stability and that security of having a full-time job on top of being able to do something that I really love to do. So, I wasn't necessarily out there networking and doing all the things that I should have been doing, right? Like keeping my LinkedIn updated and stuff like that. But what I was doing was I was being true to my personal brand in the sense that I showed up and I did excellent work. I asked questions, I partnered, I collaborated, like all of the things that have led to my success throughout my career. I kept that up. And so, I'm at where I'm at now, and I have this backlog of colleagues and friends and clients that, can say over the last 20 years, you have this consistent level of work and aptitude and output. So that's definitely helping me as I'm, continuing to network, building new relationships, like being an entrepreneur and a solopreneur. Like sometimes you have days where you're like, is this what I should be doing? So, sometimes you're just like calling an old client or calling an old friend, and it's like, no, you got this. Like, absolutely. Like you've done this consistently. So it's an internal brand that I'm working on now, getting out there more, for
Okay.
sure. But I definitely didn't do it the right way for going to this business. I kind of I fell into it.
Okay, well, just hold it right there because once again, we do have to take another break, and we will be right back with more of What's the Score? And we're back, and we are What's the Score? And once again, thanks so much for tuning in. I am Christopher Hart, along with score volunteer Jason Jones. Our guest today is Nicole Hagedorn, and her business is Davis and Harper. And you can find them at davisandharper.com. Spell it all out the way you normally would, DAVISANDHARPER, davisandharper.com. And Jason, I think you had a question for Nicole.
Yeah, Nicole, because you were talking about, you were sort of thrust into this entrepreneurial journey. And so for some of the folks that are out there listening, maybe you can give them a little insight into like what are some of the differences of, working in corporate versus working, for yourself, and maybe some of the things that you've learned or are learning along the way in this new business journey.
I love that question. So I'll take that first part, some of the differences of being an entrepreneur versus being in a corporate role. Like you definitely have to build your own community. I mean, you do when you're in a corporate role as well, but you're also kind of placed into a community based on your role and what initiatives you're working on and things like that. But when you're on your own, you really have to be very slow, like not selective, it's not the right word, but just very dedicated to finding the right people to surround yourself with. So like building your own advisory team, right? Like it not officially, but like for example, Jason, you're my mentor. And it was a very deliberate relationship that I set out to find. And finding people that I can collaborate with and um, you know, especially when you're doing all this work by yourself, you sometimes get pigeon, you don't have that second or third opinion, you don't have that just the distinction from other points of view. And so really making sure that you're finding people that you work well with and that you like to brainstorm with. So that's definitely a difference. But also, the flexibility, like being able to work with people that you really like client wise, and, finding the right fit clients. Not every client's going to be the right fit. And that's not a problem, right? Like you want to make sure they're finding what makes the most sense for them and what really is going to work for them. And same as for myself. So that's definitely some differences there. And then I forgot the second part of your question. I'm so sorry, Jason.
Um, I think I forgot too, but no, I think I was asking about some of the things that you're learning.
Oh, yeah.
As you're going through this journey. Like you mentioned, I think earlier you mentioned like networking. That's
Mhm.
something that you've had to kind of figure out. And so like, what are some other things, like if someone's thinking about starting a business that you learned and are learning along the way now?
Everything. I will say everything. Because you're doing everything on your own, while you're building this business. And I've had the luxury and ability to have teams, that support my initiatives and what I'm trying to do, but that I also support them, right? So I've had social media teams, I've had PR teams, I've had growth marketing teams, but so I don't lead the day to day. I don't lead the strategy, the short-term, mid-term strategy. I'm looking at things more holistically, high level, and working with my teams in order to get us to where we need to go. Instead, now I'm doing that, but I'm also doing the work that my teams are doing. So, I'm learning a lot about social media. I'm learning about, how do I get SEO figured out for myself and OEMs and how do I'm learning how to like really truly market in today's time in a way that I didn't necessarily do before, which I think is tiring, but like really exciting as well, because it's definitely keeping me on top of what's going on. There's so much information out there that I think I just never even realized. It's so untapped. And so it's a little overwhelming at first, but once you kind of start finding your way, right? Like SCORE, for example, and other nonprofits around the area, and even learning about like other nonprofits around the area and what they're doing and how they're doing it. Like it's just so invigorating and inspiring, and really I think is a great source to like put back into my own business. So just constantly learning.
Yeah, there's like this whole discovery. It's like almost this whole new world. And then
Hmm.
in your antennas are up now that
Yeah,
everything kind of falls on you. So it's on you
yeah.
to seek out these resources and seek help, which, by the way, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because, the way that you're going about it, just like being resourceful, you know, joining groups, doing things that you wouldn't have normally done while you're in the corporate world. A lot of being a business owner is that you got to take the responsibility to actually make those connections and make those calls and, build those relationships on your own. But I really like how you mentioned, you're even figuring out what other organizations are doing. So how important is that? Just like the whole discovery part of it.
I think for me, like I don't have any entrepreneurial like experience. Nobody in my family was an entrepreneur or anything. So, really learning so much about that. So seeing how other businesses are doing things and their perspective, their point of view. I mean, like obviously it's not apples to oranges, but it does help me see things from a different light. And then being able to talk to people in those organizations, like, not to throw names out there, but like Four Roots, for example, like I knew nothing about them maybe a year ago. And then I met someone at a networking event and, I was invited out to one of their breakfasts and the people that I met in that room and what they're doing, I was like, I had no idea these were even things that were happening in this town. Right. And Nicole, she's a director over there doing some really amazing work. And I meet with her every once in a while. And just to hear, how they approach things with their community and how they're growing and how they're tackling their priorities. Like it's just really great conversation. And it's just really like, again, it's building that community of people around you that you can get inspired by and learn from and, and just talk without feeling like I have to know everything. And I think sometimes in corporate, I did feel like that. I felt like I had to like have this air of like I know everything that I need to know in order to do a great job. But at the end of the day, we're all figuring it out as we go, right? Like, so that's a lot of pressure. And there's a lot less pressure, I think, being in this space now because I know what I'm good at. I mean, I've done a lot of different things throughout my career, and what I'm building my business around are the things that I like really love doing, and I know that I'm really good at it. So I don't need to put on airs. You know what I mean? I don't need to like, not that I'm saying I was like a jerk or anything, but like you just have to like feel like you had
Yeah,
everything
no, I get it.
together. And here it feels much more like come as you are. And I love that. Like it's
Yeah.
refreshing.
Yeah, like in corporate, it's almost like everyone's trying to, outprove each other and, stuff like that. Whereas, like you said, there's, if you're curious out here as an entrepreneur, people actually appreciate that. They appreciate
Mhm.
when you ask them questions. So how is it that you do this? And what is your,
Yeah,
they like that. People like to talk about their stuff. So,
totally. Even people
it
in
you
my
don't
own
have
line of work.
to,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, even in your own line of work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And you touched on the networking piece too. It's like I call myself an ambivert. Like people think I'm very outgoing, but I really like solitude. I like being quiet. I like reading. I like having time to myself. And so it is it is kind of exhausting, pushing yourself to get out there and then also just feeling like, well, what finding your voice, like what do I have to say that's leaving interesting or what am I even really trying to network for? Like, it's just, even that's been a lot of learning. But I look at myself a year ago, I look at myself 6 months ago, even 3 months ago, and I'm like, oh, wow, like, yeah, I've come a long way. That's really cool.
mm.
All
Christopher?
right, very good. Once again, our guest today is Nicole Hagedorn of Davis and Harper. You can go to davisandharper.com to find out more and reach out and contact her. And how would you consider the state of branding today? Because a lot of people, are using AI and stuff. How is that playing a role in what you're doing now?
The way I see AI's role is how I kind of see it across, every business line, to be honest. I think depending on the size and scale and goals of a business, like it's it sounds really great to be like, hey, we can bring that in-house and we can manage that. We can figure this out ourselves and save ourselves some money. But what you don't realize is that you still need to have somebody who can kind of work through that and understands the language enough to be able to collaborate with AI. AI cannot replace a person. It can help you kind of figure things out and where you might need to explore a bit further. But if you're using AI to completely automate everything, your messaging, your visuals, et cetera, like you're just going to be another vanilla along a line of, vanilla. Like nothing's going to make you stand out. I mean, I don't know if you guys have looked at LinkedIn in a while, but there's certain buzzwords that you see across so many posts and it's like, okay,
Hmm.
well, that's what it's pulling out right now. So there's no like new or creative thought going into it. And you really need humans with different points of view and different backgrounds and experiences to really pull together something that's unique and outside of the box, that's and relevant, culturally relevant to today and to the business. So I think it's a great tool. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I leverage AI in the work that I do as well, but it's not creating my work for me. It's helping me create efficiencies and, collaborate on certain things or just to get new ideas when I need that kind of source. But it doesn't replace a person for me. So, but I think everyone's figuring AI out and figuring out where it belongs in their company, and I think that's totally fair. But I think we'll just like the internet, right? Like we'll get to a point where it's going to start like evening out again, and we'll really
Yeah.
understand like the value and where it fits for each
That's
company.
the way I see it too. It's like, and now you're seeing some companies are hiring back people that they fired because
Hmm.
they thought they could, automate everything through AI. And then they're getting to a
Hmm.
point where it's like, oh, wait a minute, we kind of need humans again. And I'm even seeing that in some of my daily practice, people that I haven't heard from in a while,
Hmm.
because they were doing their thing in AI are now coming back like, they're realizing this is starting to look like everybody else's stuff. It's all sounding the same. It's not, unique in any way, like you said.
Yeah.
And, they're coming back. They're coming back around. They need that human touch. They need that secret sauce.
Yeah. And there are some amazing content creators who leverage AI to this amazing extent. It's like artistry almost. But again, that's somebody who's spent a lot of time and energy and understanding, and like you're not going to find that in just like a general like, hey, let's use AI to do this. So it's like any tool, and you could become like a super user and understand it and be able to create amazing art, but like just generally to get things certain done, like that's just not going to be capable for everybody, right? So,
Mhm.
All right, very good. We do have to take another break, so I hope you folks will stay with us. Once again, you can reach out to Nicole at davisandharper.com. Just spell it all out normally. DAVISANDHARPER.com, davisandharper.com. And don't forget to check out the SCORE website at score.org/Orlando and sign up for the newsletter. That way you'll know everything that SCORE's got going on, and there's always something going on at SCORE. And in the meantime, we'll be right back with more of What's the Score? Welcome back to What's the Score, the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination for your business. And before we get back to the conversation with Nicole Hagedorn, of course, Jason Jones and myself, just like to remind you that this program is being brought to you as a public service by Salem Media Group, where they can help you get your message out to the audience that you would like to have hear it or see it, because they can use both the airwaves and the internet to help you get your message to the people that you would like to have come to your business, do business with you, maybe be a part of your nonprofit. All you have to do to find out more about that is Google Salem Surround or go to surroundorlando.com, Salem Surround on Google, or go to surroundorlando.com. Or you can call the great folks here at Salem Media Group at 407-618-1760, 407-618-1760, and please thank them for putting this show on the air. And Nicole, do you have, what is this, like a 3-step program or something like that? Can you tell us a little bit about the 3 steps?
yeah. So, well, actually, I have 3 ways you can work with me. The first one is a transformation, and that actually is got 5 phases in it. So as I mentioned, I work with mid-market companies, so companies that are making, 10 million to 180 million in revenue. And they're growing and they're feeling that strain. So kind of like I mentioned before, so leadership's not always moving in the same direction. Sales and marketing aren't saying the same thing. They're not seeing the ROI on marketing that they are doing. And really, it's because that foundation isn't clear underneath. So, first phase is, let's ground ourselves in truth and figure out, like, let's really understand, like, where's the business now? Where do we want to go? And then how are they perceived in the company? So making sure that we answer those hard questions. We do a little bit of research based on what they may have. There might be some external research that we need to do as well, but really understanding that business strategy is set. And once we're aligned on that, then we move into the brand strategy piece. So, our strategic direction, and what we stand for, our brand story, then we go into our narrative and our messaging, our mission, vision, values, our governance models, et cetera. And then the last phase is really that visual identity where we're doing the creative direction. There may already be a visual brand there, but it's time to revisit it. It may not be a full rebrand necessarily. It may be, depending on where we landed with our business strategy and our brand strategy. And then the last phase is really that enablement and transfer. So I take all of these decisions and all of this great work and put it into documentation and guidelines and strategies that I hand over to that team so that they can then leverage it, build it into their business. So, marketing can use that as they're building out their creative and their campaigns. Operations can utilize it as they're, building out infrastructure, et cetera. So it's that source of truth for the business. And then I can stay on with them if they need as an advisory role to really help with, how do we now implement this? How do we now get adoption? My change management background and the experience I've had over the last 20 years really leads me to be able to help with that. So it's not like you're just hanging out the end and being like, now what do we do with it? But the goal is that, you don't need me embedded in your company long term. This is a 2 to 3 month engagement and you're off to the races. But the two other ways that you can work with me is the foundation risk assessment. So that's really taking that ground truth and that strategic direction. So those first 2 phases of the transformation, and I'm working with the teams in a half-day session. And then they walk away with, kind of those next steps and recommendations, and, even some of the decisions that we've come up with too during that time. And then the third one is if, maybe you're not quite ready for that, or maybe you just need a sounding board. I do a strategic brand partner advisory retainer. So that's for leaders who need a senior strategic voice, not to run marketing or anything like that, but really just to have a thought leader in the space. It could be a hire, or maybe you're getting into a new marketing, or you're shifting positioning. It's really working through those things. So, we start with a 3-month commitment, but really that ensures that, we're getting some momentum for you, and you can see that. So those are the 3 ways that people can work with me.
Jason?
Yeah, and so I know you work with more like mid-market companies. So for the small business owners out there who are, who don't really qualify yet, so to speak, to work with you, like what are some things that they can do or that they should consider as they're building their brand, sort of like just starting out? Maybe some practical tips and things that they can look at.
Absolutely. I love working with new businesses and startups and, solopreneurs. I think the biggest guidance that I have is don't invest too much in the early days. And by early days, I mean your first year or two in getting locked into, a visual brand. I think that's the exciting part. It seems like when you're doing it, you definitely need something so you can get out there and start networking and, have a website up, et cetera. But don't spend too much money doing that right now, because you're going to have a few, shifts as you're going along and you're refining your offering, your messaging, et cetera. So, spend a minimal amount of money to get where it needs to go, or do it yourself, DIY. But I'd say really once you're starting to make that money and you're seeing the revenue growth, you're seeing the impact and where you can go, that's really the right time to start figuring out, okay, again, look at your business strategy into that next phase of growth and figure out how to get there. And, that's when you start building out that brand infrastructure. And I'm also happy to work with newer businesses. The strategic brand partner advisory retainer is something that I do for them as well. Just because I know sometimes it's just nice to have a voice and somebody to kind of bounce ideas off of, and to get that to kind of get that momentum going as they're building out partnerships or whatever the current challenge or opportunity is for them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jason, you have another question?
Well, I was just, I was over here shaking my head in agreement, like of people that want to spend a ton of money, on visual branding up front without really getting the product or service out there and seeing if there's a need for it. So it's almost like, you have to spend a little bit of time. I always say like 25% of your time and effort, just sort of getting together. Okay, what's it going to look like? What's it going to sound like? But then like 50%, really putting it out there, seeing what people are responding to, what offers are they gravitating to, what your direction should be going forward. And then that last 25%, really refining things. And like you said, as they're making more money, starting to invest back more into the branding side of things. Because I think people can get paralyzed by just trying to get, the website has to be perfect and the colors have to be just right. And meanwhile, it's, years have passed and they haven't launched anything.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I'm listening to that too. I mean, again, I'm a year into my business. So, you look at my website and it's bare bones. It's not, there's a lot of stuff I'm like, oh, I need to go in and do that. But to your point, is like, there's so many other things I need to be doing right now. Like, it's got the general information up there. The branding is good enough for right now. Like, I'll get there when I need to, but that's not where I need to be spending my money and my energy right now. And that can be it's a scary place, to be honest, as a brand strategist, when you're like, I need to walk the talk. But at the same time, it's like, I'm also building relationships with there and people. That's really what's converting, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have the reputation already from your corporate background,
Yeah,
understand
absolutely.
what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nothing like, the fundamentals. And the fundamentals in business is about relationships. That's really what it's all about. Making deals, and you have to make deals with people. Can't make deals with machines. I mean, it's not that type of thing. Anyway, speaking of people, I got to ask you. You said you were you were on ground floor of Margaritaville, right? You did say that.
For the resort side, yeah.
Well, that was the beginning of it, wasn't it?
It wasn't the beginning of Margaritaville, because they've had their restaurants, et cetera, for like 30 something years. Yeah. But it was their first space into the hospitality side of like resorts and types of things. Because now you see hotels, et cetera, but they're not all tied to like the Wyndham brand. But we were we were the first.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of got the timeline mixed up there because I was going to ask you did you ever?
I'm a little younger than that, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say, I guess you never got to run into Jimmy Buffett then.
Yeah, exactly. About 10 years. Yep.
Wow.
Last 10 years.
All right. And so once again, Nicole Hagedorn, davisandharper.com, the website. And once again, she said it's bare bones, but it will help you set up the communications process. Once again, that she can help you. Obviously, she's a hard worker and willing to help others, even kind of before herself. But that's what you have to do in business, Jason. I mean, you got to get out there and you got to get the clients, man.
There, you got to get the clients. What's that Zig Ziglar quote? You can make money if you can help other people make money, whatever. I kind of butchered that. But yeah, if you're out there getting the clients and you're helping clients, everything will fall into place. And so for you, Nicole, like, what do you see future wise? Like while you're building your empire here, how do you envision it, 3-5 years from now? What do you see?
That's a great question. I'm not 100% sure yet. I know, I want to keep my, at least for right now, I'm not looking to like build out an agency or anything like that. I really want to do like, 10 to 12 great, sorry, I don't know why I'm totally forgetting this word, great engagements, with clients a year. Like I want to be able to give that time and that energy, that they deserve. And so, that's my main goal. Number one is doing that. And then, I want to continue getting out there and speaking. I know my voice now. I know what I want to say and how I can help other businesses and other entrepreneurs that are, starting out. And, that's kind of the next thing I want to do. And then, this is something I've been thinking about for years, but I have no idea how to start it, but I'm just going to put it out there. I've always wanted to create a children's book. And so maybe that's something I'm going to do. I don't really know. But true Gemini spirit. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 35 years, but I'm ready for the ride.
Well, it just so happens that's where we started our conversation with you, as the right. Gemini spirit. So that's where we're going to have to leave it for today because we are out of time. And another great guest, Jason. And so once again, that's davisandharper.com. And don't forget the SCORE website, score.org/Orlando. And until next week, that is all for What's the Score. See ya.
Best thing that's ever happened to you financially. Go.
Easy. Sold my car on Carvana. Amazing offer.
Really? I hit 200 on the scratcher.
Did the scratcher come to your house and hand you a check?
No.
How many scratchers did you hit to get that? I hit a button on Carvana.com once.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like the lottery, except you always win.
Not like the lottery at all, actually.
Exactly. Inexplicably good. Offers worth bragging about. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.